Legends of a fabled lost golden age may have seemed like no more than myths. Yet could it be possible that an unparalleled and advanced alien civilization may have risen on our planet without any of us being aware of it? In reference to an episode of the British series Doctor Who, where the characters met members of an ancient reptilian civilization, the Silurian Hypothesis tries to answer the question of life on Earth. Archaeologists have often been stumped by the remarkable technological feats of ancient civilizations, leaving them perplexed about how such accomplishments were achieved. Close your eyes and imagine this with me. Tucked away between the endless expanse of the South Pacific Ocean lies Easter Island, a place of great mystery and intrigue. To this day, it remains a mystery as to how the first humans to inhabit the island were able to traverse the lengthy 3,600-kilometer journey from mainland South America. One of the most fascinating aspects of Easter Island is the presence of nearly 1,000 monolithic statues that can be found across the landscape. We're still unsure of the precise method the islanders utilized to transport the human head-on torso statues, referred to as moai in the native language. What prompted the early inhabitants of Easter Island to undertake such an ambitious feat while in their isolated state remains a mystery. Regrettably, the natives did not maintain a written record, and the oral history is limited. Recent studies are beginning to shed light on the mystery of these imposing stone giants, providing insights into their purpose and meaning that have fascinated the public for years. For many years, scholars have deliberated over the methods used by people 2.5 millennia ago to transport and precisely place the large stone blocks at their respective sites. This is where the Silurian Hypothesis comes into play and attempts to answer all these mysterious questions. How did the moais get transported? How were the Great Pyramids of Giza built in the ancient civilization? Do any advanced ancient civilizations remain undiscovered on Earth? The Silurian Hypothesis is the name given by two researchers studying the possibilities of an industrial civilization preceding humanity. Their work has interesting implications for how we should study Earth and the impact we have on it. In addition, these research findings may have beneficial implications for astrobiologists looking for another form of life in the universe. The Silurian Hypothesis is primarily speculative and remains a thought experiment. However, it has been raised very seriously by two scientists in a paper published in the International Journal of Astrobiology. The two researchers based their paper on Drake's equation, which is used to estimate the number of active and communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. At the same time, the two scientists questioned the frequency of life arising on a planet. This reasoning leads to the question, can the same planet host multiple civilizations over the course of its lifespan? And this leads us to the following two questions. Did our Earth host an advanced civilization many millions of years ago? And if so, do you think any trace of this vanished civilization could remain? These two questions were raised very seriously by Gavin Schmidt from the Goddard Institute of Space Studies at NASA and Frank Adam from the Department of Physics and Astronomy at the University of Rochester. However, in this study, the two men point to anomalies that have taken place 56 million years ago and suggest that the Silurian Hypothesis may not be as eccentric as it may seem. The Silurian Hypothesis is not completely within the scope of archaeology. Indeed, researchers have based their work on the hypothesis of an ancient civilization that could have lived tens, if not hundreds of millions of years ago. To verify the Silurian Hypothesis, do not expect to find traces of plastic that degrade after 1,000 years or even glass, although it is one of the most resistant materials. Nor should we count on statues buried in the sand or submerged cities. To know how to find traces of an extinct alien civilization, we must rely on the only model we know, ours. More precisely, our current model, the industrial era. Of course, this example is very precarious. The industrial era spans about 300 years, which represents a tiny fraction of time on a planetary scale. However, to validate the Silurian Hypothesis, this ephemeral model remains the only one we have at our disposal. If we postulate that an industrial civilization like ours existed in a very distant past, what traces did this civilization leave behind? In their study, Schmidt and Frank raise interesting questions about our way of studying the Earth. They claim that we know very little about our planet when it comes to studying such distant periods. The oldest part of the Earth's surface is in the Negev Desert in southern Palestine, 1.8 million years old. 3 craters dug by erosion, the largest of which is 8 kilometers wide and 35 kilometers long, open onto the Earth's crust. The ocean floor is relatively young too, and the oceanic crust is constantly being recycled. As a result, all ocean sediments are posterior to the Jurassic period and therefore have less than 170 million years. Fossilization is an extremely rare event. The proportion of organisms that fossilize is estimated to be between 0.01 and 0.1%. Dinosaurs roamed the Earth for about 180 million years, yet only a few thousand almost complete specimens exist. Finally, finding clues about the existence of a pre-human civilization seems impossible. In the past of our planet, several climate disruptions have certain similarities with the changes we are currently experiencing, although the time frame is completely different. For example, 55 million years ago, there was the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, a period of 200,000 years during which the temperature increased by 8 degrees Celsius. Researchers are not making hasty conclusions. There is no proof whatsoever of the presence of a prior industrial civilization. It is possible that the phenomena is natural. Nevertheless, we find the above analyses sufficiently intriguing to motivate further research. This study exploring new ideas also provides an excellent basis for astrobiologists studying intelligent life on other planets. Finally, why should such a hypothesis be reserved for fiction? Recently, researchers from the University of Western Ontario declared that the red planet could have presented favorable conditions for life a little over 4 billion years ago, long before the first known forms of life on our planet. We can speculate that if intelligent life had developed on Mars 4 billion years ago, there would simply be no trace of that civilization. Hey, are you still watching? Hit the subscribe button to stay updated on the new videos we post every day. American astronomer Jason T. Wright published an article in 2017 that finally proves to be a precursor of the Silurian Hypothesis, entitled Prior Indigenous Technological Species. It lists a few technosignatures that could survive the test of time and attempts to apply this model to other bodies in the solar system. Astronomers are searching for biosignatures such as oxygen or other products of biology and metabolism in the atmospheres of other planets like Mars and the TRAPPIST-1 system as evidence of life. On the other hand, a technosignature is evidence of technology such as an artificial radio signal or space mining. Although this is associated with the ancient aliens idea, which suggests extraterrestrials visited Earth thousands of years ago and helped with science and engineering, an astronomer would interpret ancient as meaning billions of years. Therefore, anything from an intelligent life that long ago would be hard to find because it is so difficult to detect and recognize artifacts from humanity after only thousands of years. To search for technosignatures, the Earth is not the most efficient place because it destroys evidence of technology, and any artifacts from millions of years ago are most likely undetectable. According to a study published by the NASA Goddard Institute in 2016, Venus could have been the first habitable planet in the solar system, and for at least 2 billion years, leaving time for life to appear, develop, and then disappear about 750 million years ago when conditions started to deteriorate to become as they are now. If the Silurian Hypothesis interests you, you can turn to the book The Night of Time by René Barjavel, a science fiction novel published in 1968. It won the Prix des Librairies the following year. The general summary of the plot is that during the Cold War, a team of French scientists discovered an ancient civilization beneath the Antarctic ice. Carbon dating said this civilization is 900,000 years old, much older than humans, causing international attention and a research station being built. The excavation uncovered a buried city of wonders, but all would melt away with the ice, except for an odd generator and 2 humans encased in solid helium. The scientists chose to revive the female first and set off a narrative that followed international events surrounding the station and the tragic story of the female's ancient life that had been erased. As tantalizing and thought-provoking as the Silurian hypothesis is, more research needs to be done before we can draw any concrete conclusions. There are no archaeological or geological records that indicate the presence of a pre-human industrial civilization on Earth. Therefore, it remains a mystery as to whether or not such a civilization ever existed. Despite the lack of evidence, the two researchers who proposed the Silurian hypothesis are still working on gathering data that could potentially support their idea. They are exploring the possibility that certain techno-signatures of advanced civilizations might still survive in the Earth's ancient environment, such as certain metals, chemicals, or patterns in the terrain that could indicate large-scale engineering and construction. In the search for signs of intelligent life in the universe, some experts are now turning to outer space and looking to other planets in the solar system such as Venus and Mars in the hopes of finding clues of a prior industrial civilization. What do you think? Do you think aliens came down to Earth and helped ancient civilizations out, building those wonders on Earth at such an early and primitive time? Or would there be a finer explanation? Let us know in the comments below. That's all for this video. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for our next episode.